My wife, the CEO's wife, was always so distant. We've been married for years, and she's never once told me she loves me. Even a casual touch from me would send her into a rage. Just walking into her room would sometimes result in her throwing a lamp at me. One time, after I'd been drinking, I accidentally stumbled into her room, and she immediately chucked the heavy Bosch and Lohm alarm clock from her nightstand at my head, yelling, "Eureka booze! What do you think you're going to get sneaking in here? Get the hell out." The door slammed, and blood started dripping down my face. I just shook my head and gave a bitter laugh. After all these years, she still hates me this much. When she slammed the door, narrowly missing my nose, the warm sensation from my head injury snapped me somewhat out of my drunken stupor. Ever since we got married, I never had the opportunity to step in her room. To me, her room is like a forbidden zone. She always said she wasn't ready and told me to give her more time to adjust. But the instant I even came close to crossing a line, she'd shut down completely. Her reactions were extreme. Tonight, while we were out for drinks, Kevin was giving me a hard time about it. He joked that I was too pure. That kind of courtship might be fine in high school, but after being married for so long, it's just not acceptable. He said if you love each other that deeply, you would naturally cherish it. Kevin was basically saying that this was something that could be minor or could be major, but if she really loved me, she shouldn't act like that. Kevin's meaning was clear. Although I felt a slight fluctuation in my heart, I still steadfastly said I believe her and would give her more time. So, I get home, and I just wanted to see if she was even there. I didn't expect to walk into that disaster. I couldn't help but wonder, the Thompsons aren't some old-fashioned, conservative family, so why does she hate being close to her own husband after all these years? Is Kevin right? The more I thought about it, the more uneasy I felt. I quickly patched up the gash on my head and went back to the living room, the same one I always used, staring out the window. It was late. I lit a cigarette, trying to calm the panic inside. The next morning, I woke up and made Emily's favorite, a lean pork congee. I wanted to make up for acting so impulsively the night before. So I sent her tons of apology texts late into the night and even ordered her a present online. After I'd done everything I could think of, she still hadn't come out of her room. I remembered she should have been up by this time. But I didn't dare go near her room again. Finally, around lunchtime, I got a text from her. She wrote that she'd gone to the nail salon and was going to bring me and Kevin, her male best friend, back 2 cups of bubble tea. It turned out she'd already been out since early morning, hanging out with her bestie. Still, just getting a text from her made me feel a lot better, so I got dressed and went to the nail salon and got the 2 cups of bubble tea just like she wanted. In my mind, a wife is something that needs to be pampered and cherished. But as I eagerly got to the door of the nail salon, Emily's conversation with Kevin hit me like a bucket of ice water, instantly killing my enthusiasm. You mean, last night, he was drunk and barged into your room, and you smashed a lamp over his head? Kevin said, shocked. Aren't you overreacting? He's been your husband for so many years. So what? Emily's voice was cold, and she sounded annoyed. He doesn't deserve to touch me. Hearing that, my heart sank, and I nearly dropped the bubble tea. Emily, are you planning on never letting him touch you? Kevin pressed. Emily fell silent. My heart clenched, desperately awaiting her answer. The response crashed down on my heart like 1,000 pounds. I want to give my first time to Austin, Emily said. Austin Thomas, he's been away since long ago. Austin? Kevin said. Didn't he go abroad a long time ago? He texted me the day before yesterday and said he misses me and will be back soon to find me. Emily sounded slightly happy. Hearing that, my heart froze, and my throat tightened. I felt like I was floating. I'd never suspected her, not once, after all these years. But now, actually hearing those words come out of her mouth. Before, I'd just thought she wasn't ready, and I was willing to give her more time. Now I understood that she was refusing my advances, keeping me at arm's length, just to stay pure for her first love. Suddenly, I felt incredibly tired. I didn't want to love Emily anymore. The sacrifices I'd made over the years were more than enough to repay the Thompsons. She's been in love with someone else for ages. I don't need to keep playing the clingy fool. It's better to let her go and let myself go. I decided in my heart to push open the door and tell her clearly. But the action was quickly stopped. Although Emily hurt me, the Thompsons really did owe me a debt of gratitude. Even if we got divorced, we shouldn't be too loud. I once had a time when my family was also glorious. But when I was about to graduate, the Huang family's group was conspired and bankrupted by the people my father trusted most. There were many intertwined interests in it, and many people who had previously envied the Huang family began to take advantage of the situation. My relatives who had been around before were nowhere to be seen. After selling the car and selling the house to pay off the penalties for breach of contract, there was very little savings left in the house. From a large house to a small house, and then living in a dark basement. Finally, I was harmed to the point of sleeping on park benches, temporarily staying under bridges and the like. After experiencing great failures and blows, coupled with hunger and cold, my parents quickly fell ill. I knelt in front of the friends who had previously eaten and drank luxuriously with me, asking them to borrow money for treatment, but they no longer had any smiles for me. There were only jeers and insults. I still remember that cold night. I watched my parents, who were seriously ill, gradually lose their vitality. In the last moments, my mother trembled and said weakly to me, "Nguyen, Mom and Dad are sorry for you, you must live well. You will definitely be successful in the future." As soon as my mother finished speaking, her hand immediately lost all strength and fell to the ground. I knelt down and hugged them, crying until my heart broke. But no matter how much I cried, they couldn't see me again. They were gone, and I lost all hope of living. But I couldn't forget what my mother said to me. The Huang family only had me left. I must make a career and step on the people who had harmed my family under my feet, making all those who had mocked and harmed my family bow obediently in front of me. After that, I finally got a chance for advancement. Mr. Thompson came to me, not only helping me take care of my parents' funeral but also taking me back to the Thompson family and putting me to work at Thompson Corporation. From then on, I carried endless ambition and relied on Thompson's resources to rise step by step. I learned how to skillfully handle things, get to know many important figures, and gradually become an indispensable pillar of the company. Because of this debt of gratitude, even if I wanted a divorce, I could only discuss it privately, trying to save face for the Thompson family. Thinking of this, I tried to adjust my mood so that my face revealed a smile, pushed open the door and walked in. I brought you your bubble tea." Emily didn't give me a warm look, took the bubble tea, and continued doing her nails. Then I went with them to stroll around the mall. Before long, my hands were full of big and small bags. In the middle, Kevin occasionally looked at me with complex eyes, as if looking at a fool who was being deceived, with a bit of sarcasm and ridicule. In the evening, the two of them reluctantly said goodbye. Emily and I went to the parking lot and got into the car. When there was no one around, I said, "Let's get a divorce." Emily seemed stunned, staring at me. I went on, "Our marriage has long been just a formality, hasn't it? You don't love me. You just listened to your family's arrangements and reluctantly married me. I think a divorce would be the best outcome for both of us." Emily turned her head to look out the window. After a long time, she finally spoke, "I want to go home." She didn't want to answer me, and I didn't ask any more questions. I just didn't expect that after I made everything clear, I'd feel so relieved. We drove home in silence, and we both went to our own rooms. A tiring day made me fall asleep quickly. Late at night, I suddenly heard a small noise. It sounded like someone was opening a door. I opened my eyes and drowsily looked towards the door, seeing a long-haired figure walking into the room. "Emily." I rubbed my eyes and called softly, but there was no reply. The cold moonlight streamed through the window, shining directly on her as she approached. In the dim light, I saw that the figure had a shiny object in their hand. After a moment of confusion, I was shocked to realize it was a knife. I quickly flipped on the bedside lamp. Emily, with a gloomy face, was holding a kitchen knife and staring at me, her eyes full of resentment. I frowned and coldly asked, "What do you think you're doing?" Emily didn't say anything, still looking at me expressionlessly. The emotions in her eyes were churning in silence. I gradually calmed down. No matter how crazy she was, Emily wouldn't dare to kill someone. At most, I'd end up in the hospital for a trip. It would also be good to cut off completely and directly talk about divorce with Mr. Thompson. "Why do you want a divorce with me?" Emily held the knife tightly, looking fierce. "Is there another woman outside, or something?" When I heard that, I felt really ridiculous. It was obvious that she was longing for another man, and now she was asking me if I had another woman? I frowned, suddenly finding Emily extremely unfamiliar. "Do you think I'm that kind of person in your eyes?" In recent years, I have strived for the cause of the Thompson family. In the necessary receptions, even the company's parties, I rarely participate in, let alone contact with the opposite sex. So what else? Emily's beautiful face was now full of gloom. "If you didn't have another woman outside, why would you want a divorce with me?" "I've made it very clear," I said calmly. "Our marriage has no feelings, so there's no need to waste each other's time anymore. You pleaded with my dad for this marriage, groveling and begging. Now you're saying it's a waste of time?" She looked at me coldly. I was taken aback. So, in her heart, I was so inferior? Emily and Austin were deeply in love. Who knew that the Thomas family would fall into turmoil and the whole family would shake dangerously? The incident was related to the officialdom and the business world, directly causing the Thomas family to collapse. The people who needed to be investigated were investigated, and the things that needed to be sealed were sealed. During that period, anyone involved with the Thomas family would have bad luck. Emily was too close to Austin, and even prepared to get married. Thompson wanted to cut off all risks and avoid outside rumors, so he hoped that I would marry Emily. Although marriage is a lifelong thing, I still agreed because of the debt of gratitude. Start acting as a good husband. But I didn't expect that in Emily's eyes, this would become the crime of depriving love and ruining her and Austin, so she hated me so much. "You're still young and can find someone more suitable than me," my voice was calm and a little low. "For example, Austin." When I said it bluntly, Emily was clearly stunned. "Actually, I've always known that you've never forgotten your feelings for him." "It's okay, I don't blame you. I just naively thought that as long as I treated you well enough, we could continue to live like this. 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, wait for time to pass and we'll become a real couple." I laughed mockingly, the smile full of bitterness. "But I didn't expect you wouldn't let me touch you to keep your first time for Austin." Clang! The knife fell from Emily's hand. Helplessly, I got out of bed and picked it up for her. It wouldn't be good if she hurt herself. "Let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow and get a divorce, okay?" "No," Emily looked at me, her voice cold. "Why not? Isn't this what you've always wanted?" After asking, I went on, "Don't worry, I can leave empty-handed. Everything I've gotten in recent years has come from the Thompson family. Now giving it back is also a matter of course. From now on, I don't owe you anything anymore." Emily shook her head and said coldly, "I don't agree." "If you don't agree, we still have to get a divorce. Do you want me to be the guy wearing a cuckold hat?" I found it funny, turned back to the bed, turned off the lights, and ignored Emily. One night passed. Before the alarm clock rang, I woke up. Working all year round without rest made me very tired. After deciding to divorce Emily, I decided to take a day off for myself. It was also convenient to have time to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get a divorce. With 30 days of thinking time, I should move out sooner. I stroked my somewhat messy hair and muttered. "Otherwise, if we meet often, it's hard to avoid awkwardness." When I left the room, I found that Emily had already gone out. Seeing the breakfast she had left on the table, I was surprised. Since our marriage, Emily had never cooked or done housework. Everything was taken care of by me. So, she knows how to cook? I sat down at the table and ate a simple bowl of lean pork and preserved egg congee. The taste was just right, not salty or light. The simpler the dish, the more it shows a person's skill. It's just that I didn't expect Emily to cook so well. Perhaps because I wasn't qualified to eat the food she cooked, I only found out now. After eating, I went into Emily's room. In fact, our rooms were not locked. It was just that on the wedding day, she told me that she wasn't ready, so there could be no intimacy. I still remember her attitude was very firm, and there was undisguised disgust in her voice, so I always kept my commitment, never had actions that exceeded the limit. Until later, Emily's parents mentioned wanting to have a grandson, and Emily's attitude changed slightly. She was no longer firm, but switched to begging me, telling me to wait for a while longer. I respected her wishes. Even intimate touches were very rare. I just waited like that until now, until I found out that she was keeping her virginity for Austin. When I had seen everything clearly, everything was no longer important. I just wanted to find the marriage certificate and household registration book, quickly get a divorce, and completely end this ridiculous marriage. I searched everything to find it, but couldn't find what I wanted. It seemed that Emily had deliberately hidden them. Helpless, I had to call her, but no one answered the phone. Even messages were not replied to. After waiting for nearly a day, the phone finally received a message, but it wasn't Emily's message. It was a photo sent by Kevin. In the photo, Emily was holding Austin's hand. The two were walking into a hotel. When I saw the photo clearly, I couldn't help but choke. My heart felt like it was being strangled. The pain surged inexpressibly. Today must be the day Austin returned. Emily couldn't wait to get a divorce and rushed to find him at the hotel, urgently cuckolding me. No wonder she didn't answer the phone or reply to messages. I held the phone, my whole body trembling with anger. Emily, a woman who cheated while still in marriage. I couldn't wait to expose this matter so that everyone could judge right and wrong. But I had to think about the Thompson family's reputation. I could only try to suppress my emotions. It wasn't until late at night that Emily came back, slightly drunk. When she turned on the lights, she noticed that I was sitting silently on the sofa. Seeming startled, she patted her chest and said, "Why don't you turn on the lights?" I said calmly, "Go with me to the notary office tomorrow and get a divorce." "I told you before, I don't agree to a divorce." Emily frowned, looking annoyed. "How can you just throw away years of feelings like that?" "What about my feelings?" I found her words laughable. "What feelings are you talking about? You've only ever thought about Austin. Now that he's back, I'll do you both a favor. Just let's get a divorce, and you two can be together openly." Emily's face went from shocked to furious. Her voice rose sharply. "Kevin, what are you babbling about? I'm your wife. Don't you think you're going too far? Wasn't it you who said it?" I raised an eyebrow. "That your first time has to be saved for Austin. Emily, you're so devoted." I had nothing more to say to her. "Tomorrow, you're coming with me to the notary." My tone was firm, and there was no room for negotiation. Emily, after initially being stunned, instantly switched to a different tactic, grabbing my arm with feigned sweetness. "I was only joking with Kevin. How could I possibly do something like that? Give me a little more time, wait until I'm ready, and I'll give myself to you." As she spoke, she lowered her head, pretending to be bashful. "When that happens, you can do whatever you want." If I hadn't overheard the truth and had proof in hand, I probably would have been deceived by her. But now, I only felt amusement. "Don't put on an act for me. Given some time, you'd probably already be pregnant with Austin's child. Then what? Would you claim the baby's mine and make me pay child support every month?" I immediately pulled out my phone and held it up in front of Emily. She was still trying to deny the truth. "This photo has been doctored. Kevin, you have to believe me." Looking at Emily, I felt nothing but disgust. Did I have to catch her in bed with him for her to admit it? It's not what you think, Emily said, grabbing my wrist in a panic. Austin and I booked 2 separate rooms, just to rest a little. Nothing else happened. Her explanation was ridiculous. Emily, do you even hear how absurd the lies you're making up sound? I said coldly. Should I have someone pull up the hotel's booking records? Do you really want to make this such a big deal? I'm leaving you some face for the sake of the Thompsons. Don't be unreasonable. Get a divorce with me tomorrow, and let's leave each other some dignity. No way. Emily immediately became agitated. She snatched a fruit knife off the table and held it to her neck. A red mark instantly appeared on her pale skin. Are you insane? I grabbed the knife from her, ignoring the sharp blade slicing into my palm. The pain only amplified my anger. You know exactly what you've done. Don't pull this act of suicide here for me. If you want to die, do it somewhere else. Hearing that, Emily stared at me. Kevin, do you really want to be so heartless? Wasn't it you who was being unreasonable? I didn't hold back anymore. You won't agree to a divorce, fine. Then let's see what your father has to say. Emily instantly became worried, her eyes even reddening. Don't tell him. We can talk this out reasonably. There's no need for him to know. I shook her hand off. I gave you a chance to choose, but today you still went to him. We're over. I said nothing more and left the house, spending the night in a hotel. I felt completely relieved. Early the next morning, I was already out the door. Because Mr. Thompson liked tea, I always brought some with me, even this time, despite the special circumstances. When I arrived at the Thompson residence, it was already noon. Mrs. Thompson rushed out to greet me. Kevin, what brings you here today? I heard you're always busy with the company. You barely have time to eat. Today, I'm personally cooking. Make sure you eat a lot later. Faced with Mrs. Thompson's warmth, my emotions were complex. I forced a smile and said, There's no need to go to so much trouble, Mom. I just want to talk to Dad for a bit, and I have to leave later. Mrs. Thompson waved her hand, feigning anger. Don't be silly. No matter how busy you are, you have to eat properly. Don't say anything else. I'm going to work. Before she finished speaking, she went into the kitchen, giving me no chance to refuse. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson had always been like this. After Emily and I got married, they treated me like their own son. From every angle, the Thompson residence was my second home. Unfortunately, because of Emily, I was forced to leave this home. The Thompson family villa had its own tea room. Mr. Thompson saw me carrying many large and small bags and laughed. Kevin, you don't need to bring so much tea. I can't drink it all. Didn't I tell you last time that you didn't need to? After all these years, you're still being so polite when you come home. I put the things down and playfully replied, Dad likes to drink tea, so I buy a little more. If you have other hobbies, I'll get something else. Mr. Thompson happily shook his head. Just having your good intentions is enough for me. Why are you the only one here today? Where's Emily? She has something to do, I replied simply. I sat down and chatted with Mr. Thompson for a while before saying, Actually, the reason I came this time is to discuss something with you. Mr. Thompson raised his head to look at me, his eyes as calm as ever, which made me a little hesitant, but I still forced myself to say, I plan to get a divorce with Emily. What? Mr. Thompson was shocked, almost jumping out of his chair. After being stunned for a moment, he frowned and said seriously, Did you two have a fight? Or maybe just a lover's quarrel? If there's something you want to say, just tell me. I'll discipline her for you. Mr. Thompson knew my personality well. If I wasn't truly at my wit's end, I definitely wouldn't bring up the topic of divorce. I shook my head and said, The truth is, for all these years of marriage, Emily and I have still been sleeping in separate rooms. We're like prisoners confined by a marriage certificate, just husband and wife in name. Emily has always remembered Austin, and she has no feelings for me. Now that he's back, I think it's time to end this marriage. Hearing that, Mr. Thompson understood to some extent. What man could tolerate his wife always remembering another man? After a long silence, Mr. Thompson asked me, "Kevin, do you love Emily?" After hearing that, I pursed my lips and fell silent. Everyone could see the feelings I had for Emily. After we got married, not only did I play the role of a model husband, but I also took care of her wholeheartedly for many years, showing all my concern for Emily. Even though she wouldn't let me touch her, I never did anything out of line and never had any affairs with other women. I originally thought that time would prove everything, but I didn't expect that this kind of love would only make me as humble as dust. As soon as Austin returned, Emily rushed into his arms, making me even more ridiculous and even more miserable. "Kevin, you know, I truly treat you like my own son," Mr. Thompson sighed, somewhat angrily. "That girl, Emily, has never let anyone rest easy since she was little. If you have feelings for her, I'll step in. I'll definitely scold her awake." Even at this point, I still wanted to resolve the issue in a more peaceful manner. If I pulled out the photo of Emily and Austin going into the hotel, it wouldn't just ruin the marriage between Emily and me but also break Mr. and Mrs. Thompson's hearts. It wasn't necessary. Thinking that way, my tone became somewhat lower. "Emily and I have no future. Don't you know, Dad?" When I heard her say herself that she wouldn't let me touch her because she wanted to keep her virginity for Austin, how do you think I felt? It was like thousands of knives were stabbing me in the heart. Who can tolerate a wife cheating, even if it's only emotionally? I can't just ignore it. Although I hadn't said everything, hiding the fact that Emily and Austin had gone to the hotel, Mr. Thompson's expression still became extremely gloomy. She dared to do that? The shameless thing. "Kevin, don't worry. I'll call her over right now and definitely give you an explanation." At that moment, Emily appeared outside the door, looking at me furiously. "Fine. I'll give you an explanation right now. Kevin, you really want to make this a big deal, don't you? You wanted a divorce so badly? I brought the papers with me, and I'll grant your wish." After saying that, Emily immediately turned around and walked out. Although I didn't know why she had suddenly appeared, this matter had achieved the result I wanted. I had never wanted to make things a big deal, nor did I want to make things difficult for the Thompsons. I only wanted to get a divorce as soon as possible and completely end this ridiculous marriage. Besides that, I had no other desires. I hadn't wanted it like this in the first place. I stood up and bowed deeply to Mr. Thompson. "I'll always remember your kindness to me. I'm extremely grateful for your care over the years." "Kevin," Mr. Thompson frowned and sighed. "After the divorce, you won't want to see us anymore, will you?" I smiled without answering, gave Mr. Thompson a deep look, and then walked out. In front of the Thompson villa, Emily was standing by the door waiting for me. I looked at my watch and said, "The Civil Affairs Bureau is probably closed by now, isn't it? So you're that eager to get a divorce with me?" Emily frowned, looking at me. She pointed inside the house and said, "You didn't even hesitate to make a scene with my parents." "I was only joking with Kevin, so how could you believe it? Austin and I really didn't have anything going on. Can you believe me just once? It really didn't matter what the truth was." I shook my head and said calmly, "It's just that I've understood everything clearly. Over the years, you've always had Austin in your heart, and I was just a husband in name only. You used me to advance through my father. I'm granting you guys your wishes. After the divorce, you can openly find him. Anyway, I've never touched you." Hearing that, Emily's expression looked ugly and gloomy. "Saying so much, aren't you just blaming me for not doing that with you? I already said, give me more time to prepare. Is it really that difficult? Is that how you see me?" I frowned, about to say something, but looking at her self-righteous expression, I understood that there was nothing more to say. "Did you bring all the necessary papers? Let's go." "I didn't bring them," Emily said coldly, clearly having no intention of going. Her stiff attitude before was just to get me out of Mr. Thompson's sight. Her childish actions were truly laughable. I nodded and said casually, then we won't get a divorce. As soon as I finished speaking, Emily's eyes lit up. She was about to open her mouth, but her expression darkened because of my next sentence. Whether we get a divorce or not, I'm still leaving. Actually, it doesn't make a big difference. What? Emily immediately asked. Leaving? Where do you want to go? I said indifferently, that's none of your business. Emily grabbed my wrist, her face somewhat panicked. We're not divorced yet. Why isn't it any of my business? Even now, you still want to use this marriage in name only to bind me? I looked directly into her eyes and said coldly, from now on, I want to go wherever I want and do whatever I want. You're not allowed to interfere, and don't even ask. Kevin. Emily angrily harumphed, but immediately suppressed her emotions and said softly, don't be like this, okay? Let's just live well together. I'll indulge you in everything you want, she said, her beautiful face full of resolve as if she'd made a huge decision. If this had been before, I might have been overjoyed. But after being married for so long, all that was left was to have a child. But what I had once looked forward to most now couldn't stir any emotions within me. I had repaid the Thompsons' kindness, and I had also let go of my feelings for Emily. Now, I should leave. From now on, I would only live for myself. It's fine, I said blandly. What I didn't have before, I don't want now. With that, I walked out of the villa gate, got into my car, and drove away. Emily also drove her car and followed closely behind me. I ignored her. Back at my place, I immediately started packing. I realized that after living together for so many years, I didn't have much stuff. All it took was one suitcase to fit everything. As I was pulling the suitcase, ready to leave, Emily blocked me at the door. Can you not go? I remained silent. Her eyes were red and puffy. Put the suitcase down. Let's just pretend nothing happened, she said, raising her hand to unbutton her shirt. Isn't this what you've always wanted? I'll give it to you. I'll give you everything, okay? As each button was undone, the white skin beneath her shirt was revealed. I calmly looked at Emily, neither speaking nor stopping her. When she was down to only her bra, she seemed to suddenly realize the reality of the situation. Can we really not, anymore? She asked hoarsely. I didn't answer. I only said, let me pass. Emily heavily walked to the wall, slowly sat down, and hugged her knees, sobbing. I looked down at her one last time, a tinge of emotion in my heart, and then pulled the suitcase and left. As I crossed the threshold, it seemed like everything was different. The moment the door closed, it was a separation from all the past, finally putting an end to it. The savings I had accumulated over the years were enough for me to relax for a while. I went to see mountains, and I went to see the sea. Riding a horse across the vast grasslands, I had never felt life was so interesting. Today, I finally received a call from a law office, notifying me of a divorce lawsuit from Emily. After I left, she no longer needed to maintain this marriage in name only. After all, she didn't love me, and there was also Austin's existence. Divorce was only a matter of time. Without hesitating, I immediately bought a plane ticket back. Half a day passed, and I returned to this city filled with memories and sadness. Stepping out of the airport, I couldn't help but feel sentimental. This city always reminded me of the helplessness and bitterness of the past few years. But this place still had people I cared about and still held traces of my life. Shaking my head, I didn't think too much and went to the street to hail a taxi. When I arrived at the address and found the law office empty, I called out uncertainly, "Hello? Is anyone here?" Light footsteps came from behind. Before I could turn around, a sharp pain surged from the back of my head. My vision went black, and I fell unconscious. I don't know how much time had passed. When I opened my eyes, I found that everything around me was dark. Only through the faint light could I make out rusty objects. I determined that this seemed to be an abandoned factory. There was some movement beside me. With difficulty, I turned my head and saw Austin, also tied up and kneeling on the ground. It's just that his condition seemed to be better than mine. His spirit didn't seem tired at all. I frowned and thought for a moment, making a guess in my heart. He staged his own kidnapping to find out how much Emily loved him and if she would disregard my life for his sake. The answer was obvious and didn't require going to such lengths. Did he want to rub salt in my wounds? Another pain came from the back of my head, and my consciousness began to blur again. Footsteps came from afar. With difficulty, I raised my head and saw Emily carrying a suitcase, talking to the kidnappers, seemingly preparing to pay them off. When I saw her, a glimmer of hope rose in my heart, but it quickly died down. If asked to choose one of us, she definitely wouldn't save me. Thinking that way, I lowered my head and fell into a coma again. Perhaps losing consciousness could make me feel better, at least temporarily escape from this cruel reality. When I woke up from my daze, I smelled the stench of decaying earth. Where was this again? Before I could think clearly, a pain all over my body almost tore my consciousness apart. It hurt. It hurt so much. My hands and feet seemed to be severed, and I didn't have any strength left. I could only feel the pain throughout my body, as if it was falling apart. There was no place that didn't hurt, making me unable to distinguish where I was injured. I didn't have the strength to check my condition. I could only lie motionless like a soulless corpse on the ground. The surroundings were silent and dark. Death was awaiting me. Sure enough, Emily didn't choose to save me. Why was I still clinging to illusions? On one side was a deep love, and on the other was a fake husband forced into marriage. Everyone knew which one to choose. For some reason, thinking of these things made me feel a hollow pain in my heart. Could it be that I still hadn't let go of Emily? How laughable. The self-deprecation and sorrow turned into despair, silently submerging me. I slowly closed my eyes, waiting for death to come. Mom. Are you waiting for me? I'm really tired in this life. The urgent sound of an ambulance siren broke the silence, calling from afar and urging me to open my eyes. A beam of flashlight shone towards me. I heard someone shout, "Here. Someone's here." Many figures ran towards me, saying anxiously, "Hold on. Hold on." I also wanted to persevere, but my eyelids were getting heavier and heavier. Before passing out, I only felt myself being lifted onto a stretcher and then lost all consciousness. When I woke up again, I smelled the strong scent of disinfectant. I wanted to open my eyes to look around, but I couldn't do it at all, as if I had lost control of my body. A familiar voice came to my ear. "Doctor, when will he wake up?" I listened attentively and quickly recognized that it was Kevin speaking. At that moment, another voice replied, "The patient was tortured extremely cruelly. Many external wounds are accompanied by internal bleeding. These wounds can gradually recover, but the patient's brain has been severely traumatized. The nerve damage means he will very likely become a vegetable." Hearing that, my heart sank. A vegetable? How long would this state last? I struggled, wanting to sit up, but no matter how hard I tried, my body only felt weak. I couldn't even move a finger. If so, it would be better if they hadn't saved me. I craved freedom and could also accept death. I just didn't want to live as a disabled person. Kevin continued to talk to the doctor for a long time, but I couldn't hear clearly anymore, until he sighed and sat down next to the bed, saying to me, "Kevin, why is fate so unfair? It always picks the weak thread to break, and misfortune chooses the bitterest person to haunt. Your uncle and aunt passed away early, leaving you alone, and you still have to love an unworthy woman. What's with Emily and Austin still going back and forth like that? It's so embarrassing when the word gets out. Although she eventually regrets it and mentions you all day long, if it weren't for her, you wouldn't have gotten hurt like this." Kevin babbled on, and I learned a lot of things. It turned out that after I left, Emily regretted it. He couldn't accept it and planned a kidnapping incident to find out who Emily loved most. At that time, Emily didn't choose him, but chose me. Austin was extremely angry because of this and immediately decided to take revenge. He had people kidnap Emily and make her witness me being beaten. That was the origin of my injuries. Then, Austin also tied Emily up elsewhere to let her die slowly in regret and starvation. After not seeing news of Emily for several days, the Thompson family quickly became suspicious and sent people to investigate. It didn't take much effort to find Austin's whereabouts and force him to reveal the location of me and Emily. After the police received the report, they quickly came to the rescue. Fortunately, the time of imprisonment was not too long. Both Emily and I managed to survive. It's just that her condition wasn't very good either. She also fell into a coma and was being treated in the ward next door. After hearing all these things, my heart was a tangled mess. I was happy that Emily had chosen me, but also regretted handing her over to Austin. Knowing people's faces but not their hearts, who could have imagined that Austin would be so crazy and do such dangerous and extreme things? If I hadn't come back, what would have happened to Emily in the devil's hands? I didn't dare to think about it. In the dark days, I heard a familiar voice again. Kevin, Mr. Thompson's voice was full of grief. Perhaps he also learned about my condition from the doctor. A pair of warm hands grabbed mine. Mrs. Thompson also said sadly, "What a poor child. What should we do?" Hearing the emotions in their words, a warm current flowed through my heart. The Thompson family had always treated me like their own since Emily and I got married. Weren't Mr. and Mrs. Thompson also my parents? I wanted to get well soon. I wanted to sit up and hug them. This world was still beautiful, and there were still people worth cherishing. I definitely couldn't just lie here. A strong belief filled my heart. I felt my heartbeat growing stronger every moment. Next to me, Kevin cried out softly in delight. Kevin's heartbeat is fluctuating. He can hear us. He can feel us. But I could only react like that. In the long darkness, I couldn't distinguish between day and night. I could only rely on the on-duty nurse to judge. Roughly, more than 10 days had passed. Today, Emily, still not fully recovered, came to my ward and whispered, "Kevin, I miss you." I could feel her carefully burying her head in my chest. Her voice became a little low. "I miss you so much. Can you wake up quickly? We haven't divorced yet, and I will definitely be well-behaved and be the best wife in the world." My unremitting efforts were finally rewarded. At this moment, suddenly, my finger twitched slightly. "Does that mean you've agreed with me?" Time passed. One afternoon, the sunset stretched across the horizon, incomparably brilliant. Emily was holding fresh flowers, standing prominently in front of the company entrance. "President Kevin, Emily has been coming every day. The daughter of a powerful family has been chasing this guy for such a long time. Isn't he planning on giving her a chance? What a kind and devoted girl. So envious." Hearing my colleague's words, I smiled without saying anything. As I walked out the door, Emily ran over to greet me, her footsteps incredibly happy. "Kevin, I've been chasing you for so long. Give me some kind of response." I raised an eyebrow and smiled, saying, "All right. I'll give you another chance."